Welcome to the Thriving Outside the Box podcast. Join me, Dr. Kimberly Grocher, a licensed psychotherapist, executive coach, and yoga and mindfulness meditation teacher, as I shed light on the stories of leaders and entrepreneurs across industries who not only dare to create their own path in their careers, businesses, and lives, but have found a way to do it while thriving mentally, physically, and spiritually. I hope you walk away with the inspiration to do the same. Welcome to another episode of Thriving Outside the Box with Dr. Kimberly Grocher. I'm your host, and I'm excited to bring another solo episode to you today. I like to do these solo episodes just to share information that I feel like I kind of share on a regular basis and want to share in a way that might be helpful to a wider audience. So getting information out to more than just the people I'm able to connect with one-to-one on a weekly or daily basis. And so today's episode is all about retreats, right? Because I have been on many retreats. I have had the opportunity to teach at several retreats, and something that a lot of people in my life and my network, thinking about my clients, have been talking about lately is like, well, what is a retreat? And do I need to go on a retreat? And what would it be like? And how do I find a retreat? And how do I know if it's the right retreat for me? So I thought I'd do this episode to offer some information, some guidance, and to help you think about retreats maybe a little differently than you do currently. And I also want to spend some time talking about why are we talking about it on this podcast, right? Why a retreat may be just what you need on this journey. And again, what might that look like for you? So I'll start by sharing my own story. So I've been on a lot of retreats. I think I've been on retreats that maybe I forgot about. I was reflecting on it recently and I realized I started going to retreats as a teenager. I grew up in the Black Baptist church. As a teenager, I would go to different conventions and retreats. And, I was a teenager. So at the time, my primary motivation was to be with my friends and to be away from my parents in the house. And a lot of the conventions or retreats that I would go on with my church family would be at different historically Black colleges and universities. So we're like junior high, high school, we're ready to go live our best fake different world life, It was really interesting. And of course, yes, I definitely learned some things related to my faith, and that was wonderful. But I want to be honest about my motivation when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old, right? And then as an adult, I went on a retreat in the Poconos with actually somebody I met on one of my internships. I was doing an internship during my media studies program at POV, American Documentary, which is a show on PBS that features independent documentaries. And my supervisor at the internship and I became really cool, really close during that time. And she invited me on a women's retreat with her church. And that was interesting to go as an adult. I didn't really have a faith-based or spiritual community at that time. And so it was an interesting experience to go in this space as a 30-something-year-old woman. And then I've also been on retreats for work, of course, corporate retreats, work retreats, organizational retreats that are usually like a day long. I've been on luxury retreats for entrepreneurs and leaders, have gone to some fabulous places like Costa Rica and some more, it's not local, but, here in the States, some nice resorts and locales in the United States. And then I've also been on silent meditation retreats. And those have been very different, interesting retreats. The ones I've been on have been in the Pasana tradition of Buddhism and very much related to my mindfulness meditation practice and also my training as a mindfulness meditation teacher. Because actually, part of the training requirements are that you have to go on a certain number of silent retreats for a certain number of days. And then along that came with different day long and half day retreats, different yoga studios, different creative outlets. So I've been to quite a few retreats, and I've also had the privilege of teaching at retreats. So I have taught workshops around yoga, meditation. I have also taught workshops around taking yourself seriously as a creative, as a writer. I have taught workshops on various topics around mental health. And I have also had the opportunity to teach movement, um, especially as silent meditation retreats, mindful movement. And so retreats have been life changing for me in a lot of ways. And all of them have been life changing in their own ways. Even if it wasn't the best experience or the greatest experience, it still taught me something and it allowed me to develop an aspect of myself. And I'll talk about that a little bit later when I talk about finding the right retreat for you and how to assess and how to discern what makes sense for you if you decide that you want to try a retreat. If I had to choose between what are my favorite retreats, I would say it depends on what's happening in my life, but it's either silent or luxury. Silent because as a therapist, as a coach, I do a lot of listening. I know people think that therapists, coaches, we do a lot of talking, but actually, hopefully, you're doing a lot of listening. And so sometimes I need time or space where nobody is talking to me. Nobody is asking me a question. Nobody is expecting me to come up with an answer. I do not have a problem being in silence. I do not have a problem not talking. Sometimes silent retreats are a real treat. And the retreats that I have been on have been those retreats where it's a mix. We have some walking meditation, we have some sitting meditation. The teachers maybe talk and share some insight. So you have a schedule throughout the day. So I think sometimes people envision sitting in one place for like 4 or 5 or more hours a day being silent. And there are retreats like that around the world. I do not have experience at those retreats. The retreats I've been on, I've been in nature. I've been able to take walks. I've been able to do my own movement, whether that's yoga or running or walking. Within the guidelines of the retreat, I've been able to have my own experience in silence, and I have very much appreciated it. And then the other favorite are luxury retreats. I enjoy a good luxury retreat. I enjoy going to a nice place. Preferably for me, I love beaches. I'm a water sign. So I like to be at a beach. I like to be at a resort. I like to not have to think about my meals. I don't want to cook. I just want to maybe show up for whatever is being offered. And maybe I don't want to show up for what's being offered. Again, maybe I just want to do my own thing. And so I love having time where all of my needs are anticipated and taken care of without me necessarily having to express them. So those would be my two type of favorite retreats at this point in my life. I want to talk about the difference between retreats, vacations, and residencies. So, depending upon where you are, what your experience has been in life, you may have a different idea of what a retreat is. It may sound like something that you're like, why would I do that? A lot of people don't really get to engage in retreats until, they're working. And so, jobs have these retreats trying to build relationship or camaraderie or teams. And depending upon where you are, your workplace, you may have mixed feelings about those type of retreats and your experience at those retreats. But retreats can be so much more, as I've described the retreats that I've been on. A retreat is just that. It's a stepping away, it's a stepping back from your daily life and taking time to reflect. And what you're reflecting on may be different depending upon the type of retreat that you need or you're experiencing. How's it different from vacations? Usually on vacations, I love what Bridget said. I think Bridget was episode 5, right? Bridget Simmons. We talk about like vacations are a break from your daily life. Sometimes, because actually, a lot of times you end up taking your daily life with you. And vacations end up being a lot of work in a different kind of way. So, they can be fun. Maybe you're exploring, maybe you're relaxing, maybe you're resting, but a vacation is typically a set number of days, a set amount of time, and then you come back to your life. Whereas retreats are designed to be life changing or business changing, professional development as well as personal development, depending upon the type of retreat that you're on. Also, how does this differ from residencies? So, many of the people I work with know that I have been on a couple of artists and writers residencies. And so that is different because usually when you're on a residency of that nature, you are creating some type of work. You're working on a specific type of project. And there can be aspects of like retreat or vacation, depending upon where you are and what your interests are and what you want to do in this particular location, how you're structuring your time. But usually you come with the intention of working on a specific piece of work or project. You're not necessarily working on anything specific besides yourself on retreat. If you're thinking about trying out a retreat, trying something new, first think about what are you looking for and what do you need right now in this particular time in your life? Do you need rest? Do you need time to set aside and maybe plan your business? Um, do you need time to revive? Do you need time to, go on an excursion or an adventure, which doesn't have to be a vacation, right? It can be a retreat where you're very specifically working on being more active. I've heard of like running retreats, right? Where a group of people get together and they're running through like beautiful geographic locations. And it's like a trip and a retreat. So, what do you need? What are you looking for right now? And then thinking about how do you find retreats? So I've found my retreats a number of different ways. The most common way I find retreats is by talking to other people and finding out what they're doing, where they're going, who they've connected with, or people I know who are leading retreats. That's one way. Another way is to do some online searches. I mean, be safe, definitely be safe, do your homework. But there are a lot of retreat registries now. One that I have been following for years and I enjoy is Noir. Anybody can go on many of the retreats, but it's geared towards Black women's wellness. So that is OMNOIRE. And they have like a directory of retreats happening globally around the world. Also, check to see if you're a part of nonprofits, social organizations, clubs that are offering retreats that you might want to try. And then you're already doing this in a community with a group of people that you already know. The next thing to think about is this right for you, right? So, taking your life, your circumstances into consideration, do you want a virtual retreat or an in person retreat? After COVID, virtual options are still plentiful because during COVID, so many places started offering these virtual retreats. I have done virtual retreats. I have mixed feelings about them just because I want to be away. And I did a lot of them during COVID where I was doing an insane amount of therapy sessions each week just because the need was so great. So spending any additional time on Zoom for me was very aggravating. So it wasn't necessarily the best experience. And so I'm post COVID a little more averse to doing virtual. However, virtual may work for your life. Virtual can be a great option. There are a lot of quality virtual retreats. So thinking about what's available to you and what you might want to try. Again, there's the in-person option, which I really appreciate because I like to be immersed. Again, that may not be right for you right now, especially if you have not done a retreat before and you're a little skeptical or wary or want to dip your toe in, virtual might be right for you. In-person can be local. It can also be traveling somewhere for it. So again, deciding what your comfort level is right now. When you find a retreat, does it sound exciting to you or resonate with what you need right now? So I have been invited to retreats with different friends of mine where I'm just like, it sounds great for you, but I'm not interested, or that's not what I need right now. And I really think you should be honest with yourself. And it's okay if you receive an invitation or somebody's really excited about something that just doesn't resonate or align with you at this time. It's okay to say no. So when you hear about the retreat, when you see the information, what comes up for you? And also, you might ask yourself too, am I maybe don't want to go to this because I'm afraid it's something new? I've never done this before. And maybe you want to overcome that. I'm pretty confident in myself. When I don't want to do something, I'm clear that I don't want to do it. So, but that's me. So think about whether or not it resonates with you. Another important element to think about is, do you know, like, and trust the person leading it? Or are you going with somebody who does know, like, and trust the person? This is very important, especially when it comes to safety, because there are a lot of experiences that you may have on a retreat, and you want to be with somebody that you pretty much know whatever they're leading, they know what they're talking about, they have good intentions, they have some organizing and logistical capabilities or assistance if that is not their gift, right? Because a retreat is a whole experience. And especially if you're going away, you're going to be there for quite a bit of time. So you want to make sure you're going with somebody who knows what they're doing. And if they're leading things, they know what they're talking about. And so that might involve having a one-to-one conversation with the person before you sign up for the retreat, talking to other people who have been on retreats with them or who have worked with them in some other capacity. Thinking about, does it fit your budget and your schedule? Those are logistics that have to work for your life. And then again, going back to this idea of safety first. Know what you're comfortable with and what you're not, and be okay with saying no or leaving early if it's not a good fit. Sometimes this takes a little bit of time to discern or figure out. Is it because this is new? For example, if you go to a silent retreat and you're not used to a silent retreat, maybe you go for 2 days or 3 days first, right? And there might be some discomfort initially because you're not used to being in silence and just being with your own self. Even in a room or a center full of people, you're very much with yourself and what's going on in your mind. And it may really be uncomfortable at first. And that might be part of your experience in working through it. And then there might be times where it's just really not appropriate for you and what you're experiencing, what you're going through in life right now. And so it might be the best decision to say, you know what, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to leave. I have been on retreats where different activities or workshops were offered or exercises where I did not participate because my intuition just told me that this doesn't feel right for me. And so I'm not going to participate. I don't have to disturb other people's experiences. You know, everybody can have their own experience, but I'm not going to participate in this particular activity. And I just want to say that with my full chest, that is absolutely okay. And so when you're choosing retreats, whatever that retreat is, whether it's virtual, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's in person, local, you have to travel, be sure you're going into a space where you have choice and that you're going to be able to exercise that choice without negative consequences. So that is one way to retreat, or those are just a few ways to retreat, right? And they all center around retreats that somebody else has created or is offering. You can also create your own retreat. So maybe you're saying to yourself, that sounds really nice, but I really don't want to spend my time or spend my money on something that I really don't know the person, really don't know what the experience is going to be like. But the idea of a retreat itself resonates with me. And so I say, create your own retreat. I have worked with several of my coaching clients to help them design their own retreat, whether it be around something like a personal goal or personal development, or setting aside time to work on their business. So when I coach entrepreneurs, when I coach other therapists who are starting private practices, I talk a lot about you need to take time to work on your business. You need to allot for time to take care of the foundation, the systems, the structures of your business. It's very easy to get caught up in it, but you got to work on it. And sometimes you maybe want to take a retreat, take 2 or 3 days where you say, okay, I'm going to work on my business, but I want to be away from home. I want to be away from the office. I want to be in a place where I can relax, but also be creative and really start to put some things in place. And again, that doesn't necessarily have to look like going away. Maybe it's taking a half day retreat at your local coffee shop, right? Maybe it's a little longer than you typically spend there, or some other place that you feel comfortable in your neighborhood where you just have this dedicated time to work on this particular project or task. And again, that can look like setting aside dates, um, booking a hotel or a resort or an Airbnb. It can be local. It can be someplace where you have to maybe travel a few hours, whatever you need. The purpose is to, again, take that time to step back, to reflect, to focus. When you're creating your own retreat, there can be several different purposes. So I spoke about the business purpose, but you can also take a retreat to rest. You can take a retreat to reset, whatever that means for you. You can also take a spiritual retreat. Again, whatever that looks like for you. Thinking about the length of time that's possible or needed, a day, a long weekend. Do you want something that's a little bit longer? Do you want to go someplace locally or do you want to travel? Do you have the budget for what you want to do? One of the nice things about a business retreat is that that can be a write off, a tax write off, because it's a business expense. You're spending time working on your business. When my clients take these personal retreats, whether it's for business or personal, I help them create the structure and flow. So you want a balance between you know what you're coming to do, you have an idea of what you want to leave with or walk away with at the end of that time, but you also want to weave in a bit of flow, a bit of play, a bit of relaxation, right? So a lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend 9 hours, 9 to 6 in this hotel room and I'm just going to bang it out. And often for most people, that's not realistic, right? So what happens is you go, you're hungry, you're tired. This looks like an interesting activity, or, oh, you want to go try this experience, right? And then you don't actually get done what you thought you were coming to get done. And then you end up leaving feeling really upset and depleted and like you didn't accomplish anything, as opposed to having a very realistic schedule. I often talk about, maybe having a nice breakfast and some coffee, some leisure time. Then maybe you do some type of workout either before breakfast or after breakfast, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you're somebody that likes to hit the gym. Do that. Maybe you're somebody that wants a yoga class with a view of the mountain or by the beach. Maybe it's a nice walk or hike for you, but something to kind of get the body moving. And then settling down for an hour or two into your work, and then maybe a nice lunch, then maybe another activity, and then maybe another work period in the afternoon or evening. And again, structure that based on your own rhythm, your own flow. Like, when do you tend to work best during the day? And again, that's something that I help them create. If you have a coach, if you have a therapist, they could probably help you design a retreat for yourself if this is something that you're interested in. So I just want to leave this with you. I do have some exciting opportunities coming up in 2026 around retreats, but I'm still very much in the planning phases. So as we get closer, I'll share more of that information. But again, think about the people around you right now who are offering retreats. Think about the organizations. Think about creating your own. You may say, I'm taking Friday off and I'm driving to this local beach that I like, and I'm spending the day at the beach. And while I'm there, I might read, I might take a nap, I might have a nice lunch, and that is my retreat. And that is more than sufficient. It's more about the intention than it is about having it be or look a specific way. So I encourage you to think about where you might want to implement a retreat or retreats in your life if you haven't already. And if you do, maybe it's time for another one. And so I just wanted to leave with this quote. I know not everybody is faith-based or Christian, and so please take it or leave it if it works with you. But I just felt this really resonated for me. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a secluded place and rest a while." For there were many people coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. They went away in the boat to a secluded place by themselves. Mark 6:31 and 32. And to me, that is resonant with so many of the people I know lives today. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people coming and going. There's a lot of people wanting to be with, lean on, take from you, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad ways, right? That often we don't even have time for ourselves. We don't have time to settle. We don't have time to rest. We don't have time to focus. And so making that a regular part of your life, that retreat, no matter what that looks like for you, can be so helpful on this journey of living outside the box. All right. I look forward to being with you all next time, and I'll see you soon.